It's been 1 month since the Russian mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin was reportedly killed in a plane crash in Russia. Days before his death, Prigozhin had been in the Central African Republic, where his Wagner Group is in charge of President Faustin-Archange Touadera's security. But since Prigozhin's death, there is division in the country over Wagner's presence. DW's Zigoto Tchaya Tchameni reports from Bangui.
Trésor Adoum has never met nor seen Yevgeny Prigozhin. Yet, he is a pro-Wagner supporter and a staunch believer in the group's presence here in the Central African Republic. Today, Trésor and his friends are paying tribute to Prigozhin at this Wagner statue in the heart of the capital. They want to show their respects to the head of the Wagner Group after his death in an inexplicable plane crash in Russia on the 23rd of August.
We cannot measure the greatness or the added value of what the Wagners have brought to the Central African Republic. In previous years, we have had peacekeeping missions that were sent to the Central African Republic to secure our borders. But what did this achieve in terms of results? What have we seen? What have we known? We have only known repeated coups. We must support Russia so that we can never again speak of such a rebellion in the Central African Republic.
Vraiment plus que jamais, nous ne pouvons plus parler d'une quelconque rébellion au pays sud-africain.
The Central African Republic has been in the midst of a series of civil wars since 2003, which left 3/4 of the territory under rebel control. The estimated 1,000 Wagner mercenaries stationed in the Central African Republic first came to the country in 2018 to help the government of President Touadera defeat rebel forces and fill in a security vacuum left by France after it withdrew its military forces from the country in 2016. A lot of people in the Central African Republic think the Wagner Group, together with the Rwandan troops, have done more to quell the country's many rebellions than the French and the UN forces combined, while foreign observers accused the Russian paramilitary of committing atrocities. The majority of the civilians here think their successes are worth the price. But while the Wagner Group has many supporters in the country, it also has its opponents. The Central African Republic opposition leader, Mahamat Kamoun, was a former prime minister in President Catherine Samba Panza's transitional government and is currently leader of the Bay Africa Tikwe opposition party, meaning the Central African Republic for us all. He says the mercenaries don't belong in the Central African Republic.
Not only is it a group which does not come to help to develop and foster peace in Africa, this group is made up of people who came for self-interest and benefits. Whether it's the Charter of the African Union or the Charter of the United Nations, the activity of the Wagner is banned. They have come for the wrong cause and the wrong reason. Today, Central Africans are paying the price for their negative presence since the Wagners came in here. They exploit our timber, our mines, trade, etc. They have created unfair competition in terms of security. A country like CAR should instead rely on credible partners.
With Prigozhin's death, the question on many minds is whether the Wagner Group will continue its operations in the Central African Republic, but this time under Kremlin authority. And if so, what will happen to the country if Russia withdraws the soldiers due to the pressures of the war in Ukraine?
And to talk more about this, we've invited John Leshner onto the program. He is a journalist and researcher who has worked in the Central African Republic. He's currently writing a book on the Wagner Group. It's due for publication next year. Welcome to DW News Africa. It's been almost a month since the head of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, died. How has that impacted Wagner's work in the Central African Republic?
Thanks for having me. I think the short answer is it doesn't seem like there has been much of a visible impact on Wagner's operations in the Central African Republic. We saw the referendum go through pretty much without a hitch in terms of any opposition from the various armed groups. We continue to see a Wagner presence, especially in the capital as well, and some of the more prominent representatives of Wagner who were major figures under Yevgeny Prigozhin continue to be in Kar and Bangui as well. And so we've honestly just not seen any significant type of personnel changes or any real change to the status quo.
And John, we know that Russia's priority right now is the war in Ukraine. What does this mean for its presence in Africa through private militaries like the Wagner Group?
Sure. I think Africa obviously is not going to be a priority like Ukraine for the Kremlin, certainly not anytime soon. But at the same time, especially following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine last year, I think the narrative that Moscow is not geopolitically isolated, and the narrative that Russia is a leader in this new wave of decolonization has become increasingly important. And so to the extent to which Russia can kind of uphold that narrative, especially in Africa, it is important right now to a lot of folks in the Kremlin.
It's been suggested that the Wagner Group could be a model for future Russian foreign policy in Africa. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Wagner has played such an interesting role in the sense that we have to think about Russia and the way that Russia is governed in a lot of respects like other countries. There are competing individuals and institutions who have their own foreign policy priorities. And specifically to Russia, we see that there's often not a lot of guidance from the center, from Vladimir Putin himself. And this gives sort of outsized freedom to specific individuals to go out and pursue foreign policies that both they can frame as kind of upholding or furthering Russia's interests, but also projects that are profitable to their own bottom line. Yevgeny Prigozhin and Wagner were at the forefront of that in Africa. And I think in a lot of respects, we can say that Wagner was actually key in creating what Russia's interests in Africa were. We know that Russia doesn't have significant trade figures with the continent, or certainly not compared to China, the EU, and the United States. But they have successfully exported essentially this PMC model, this security model. And so I think we will continue to see that in the future where Russia really focuses on places where it has an advantage.
All right, that's John Leshner. Thanks so much for sharing your insights. And we hope to bring you back onto the program when your book's been published.
Thank you so much.